prong is satisfied. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office and the prosecution failed to disclose the supplemental report to defense and provide defense an opportunity to inspect the rounds collected into evidence that Mr. Teske gave. Is the evidence favorable to the accused? The second Brady element is whether the suppressed evidence was favorable to the accused, either as impeachment or exculpatory evidence. This prong is satisfied. The suppressed evidence is favorable to the accused. It is impeachment evidence, has even been offered in this trial as impeachment evidence, and is potentially exculpatory to the defense. Critically, the exculpatory value cannot be analyzed at such a late juncture because of the nondisclosure. Is the evidence material? While post-trial discovery of evidence under Brady requires a reasonable probability that the result of the proceeding would have been different, discovery of evidence during trial requires an evaluation of whether the late tender has impeded the effective use of evidence in such a way that it impacts the fundamental fairness of the proceedings, and that is State versus Huerta Castro.
Again, if you're just tapping in, this is the judge ruling on the Alec Baldwin dismissal motion. By now, you know it was dismissed, but we're just listening to what she had to say, because many people feel that the trial and the judges in the YSL trial should be looking at this, and the attorneys should be looking at this to use in any further motions that they will be presenting to a judge to have their trial dismissed. So let's keep listening. By the way, this is in New Mexico. We'll get into that.
This evidence is material. The late discovery of this evidence during trial has impeded the effective use of evidence in such a way that it has impacted the fundamental fairness of the proceedings. The defense is not in a position to test the state's theory as to the source of the live rounds that killed Ms. Hutchins. I'm also going to take a look at Harper, State versus Harper. The assessment of sanctions depends upon the extent of the government's culpability, weighed against the amount of prejudice to the state. Quoting Chenard. Let's go through culpability. Our case law generally provides that the refusal to comply with a district court's discovery order only rises to the level of exclusion or dismissal where the state's conduct is especially culpable, such as where evidence is unilaterally withheld by the state in bad faith, or all access to the evidence is precluded by state intransience. The state is highly culpable for its failure to provide this discovery to the defendant. The state unilaterally withheld a supplemental report. Santa Fe County Sheriff's Officer made the decision, and apparently also with the prosecutor, as pursuant to Hancock's testimony, that the evidence was of no evidentiary value and failed to connect the evidence to the instant case.
Now, keep that in mind that they just said the investigator or the law enforcement officer pretty much, and then they said with the attorney, with the prosecutor, decided to withhold that evidence. Now, if I don't remember if anybody paying attention remembers when Glanville brought up to the state that if anything that law enforcement withholds in a trial, any type of trial, it's assumed that law enforcement and prosecution are one, like there's one team. So that's being looked at the same way as if the prosecution did it themselves. Whether they did or not, if the police withhold something, that's the same thing as the prosecutor withholding something, according to what Glanville said earlier in his trial. And this was around when there was a lot of conversation around, hey, where's Detective Gaither's police reports, or where are these reports about Adrian Bean being in the hospital? It was around that time. So the judge was like, hey, if we find out that somebody kept this information, it's going to be a problem. So that's why it's important what this judge just said right there. Even though it's a different state, it's still important.
The case agent, as well as pursuant to Hancock's testimony, Ms. Morrissey, was aware of the new evidence and yet did not make an effort to disclose it to defense. The state's willful withholding of this information was intentional and deliberate. If this conduct does not rise to the level of bad faith, it certainly comes so near to bad faith as to show signs of scorching. Prejudice. When discovery has been produced late, prejudice does not accrue unless the evidence is material and the disclosure is so late that it undermines the defendant's preparation for trial. The court concludes that this conduct is highly prejudicial to the defendant. The jury has been sworn, jeopardy has attached, and this disclosure during the course of trial is so late that it undermines the defendant's preparation for trial. There is no way for the court to right this wrong. Lesser sanctions under Harper. Trial courts possess broad discretionary authority to decide what sanction to impose when a discovery order is violated. State versus Lemire. The sanction of dismissal is the only warranted remedy. The jury has been sworn, jeopardy has attached, and a mistrial would not be based upon manifest necessity. Further, the sanction of dismissal is warranted in this case. The state has repeatedly made representations to defense and to the court that they were compliant with all their discovery obligations. Despite their repeated representations, they have continued to fail to disclose critical evidence to the defendant. Brady and Harper are satisfied. Dismissal with prejudice is warranted. Court also has power, inherent power. Per State versus Lemire, where discovery violations inject needless delay into the proceedings, courts may impose meaningful sanctions to effectuate their inherent power and promote efficient judicial administration. The state's discovery violation has injected a needless, incurable delay into the instant jury trial. Dismissal with prejudice is warranted to ensure the integrity of the judicial system and the efficient administration of justice.
Holy moly.
Your motion to dismiss with prejudice is granted.
Holy moly. Man, that's deep. He just beat a body. He beat a crazy body too. Alec Baldwin just beat a crazy body too. That's crazy. Whoa, the chat is going crazy. I didn't see y'all over there. My bad. Do y'all is everybody following along why so many people feel this is extremely valuable to the YSL trial? Is everybody following along with that and understanding why people feel this way? I even saw Thugger Daily tag. Shout out to Thugger Daily. Everybody else been shouting out Thugger Daily, and I follow them too, so I'm going to shout them out too because they have been keeping everybody up to date with all documents and important information. Now, there have been a lot of people saying that, yes, please like and subscribe, saying that this will help out Young Thug in the YSL trial. Let's see what what the chat is saying here. What's good, Nelson? What's good, Road Dog? Shout out to Road Dog for telling me to play this video because that was a good piece. We actually did need to hear that. That was actually good to hear. Let's see, Hip Easter, what's going on? We finally got power back after the hurricane. Oh yeah, shout out to Houston in Texas. I'm assuming you're in Texas somewhere, right? That was a wild one today. Yup. My thoughts still will have a motion tomorrow, quoting all of this. That's what I'm thinking. I felt like Steele would have something written up by the end of the day. You know, Brian Steele's wife clearly is the fastest motion writer in the state right now. Remember how fast she had that appeal motion set forward for his contempt. She had it ready before 5 p.m. The Amazing Fisherman, shout out to you. Thank you for tapping in live. Val Powell said, if only we could have impartial judges here in Fulton County. Yeah, man. It's tough. You got to watch the full day. Okay. Watch the full day. Esquire, I like that, how that name is spelled. I think this shows that prosecution is honestly a problem everywhere. We know it happens, but it's different when we all see it happen. Fact, shout out to live streaming trials. I love the fact that they live stream. I wish they live stream more trials that weren't just high profile people, because if y'all could see, I know how, but if y'all could see how dirty they do people every day, it's just crazy. But I do like that it's being live streamed so people can see it. See what happens when you actually have a fair and disinterested judge. Yep. Maria said, that's awesome. Fiddle Dee said it was the right decision. Shout out to Terry for being the eighth like. Let's see here. Yes, I see Steele probably in the lab re-perfecting a new motion. Steele has put in so many motions this last week. He is hitting them over the head nonstop. Shout out to Georgia Peach. Let's see.